Brussels sprouts. Everyone hates them because our parents boiled them to death. So I'm going to show you today how to make them absolutely delicious to the point that your 15-year-old will request them for dinner. What we're going to do is take Brussels sprouts, that little root end, and just barely slice it off. You know, set those off to the side. Actually toss them in the counter because it's sitting right there. Just a quick little slice. After we slice them up, we're going to par cook them. Drop them in some boiling water for about 30 seconds. Probably 2 or 3 heavy pinches of salt. Stir them around a little bit, and then we're going to drop them into some ice cold water. Once they cool down, we're going to slice them in half and sear them in a pan with some oil, some butter, salt, pepper, and a little bit of granulated garlic. It's going to be a little charred on that flat side, but it's going to add so much flavor, and there's still going to be a crunch. With the Brussels sprouts, we're going to blanch and shock them. We've got the water boiling, so we're going to add a little bit of salt. Then the Brussels sprouts, we're only going to put these in for about 30 seconds. Blanching and shocking them is going to cook the outside really quick, and it's going to help retain that green color to it. So once the outside is kind of cooked, we're going to drop them into a bowl of water and ice, let them cool down really quick. So now I got about 45 seconds on the Brussels sprouts. So we're going to strain those off. Once that water's out of there, pull that, drop them into a bowl of ice water, and we'll let those cool down. And then once they're nice and cool, we're going to slice them in half and keep going. Brussels sprouts have been blanched and shocked. That means we put them in boiling water just for a second and then chill them off in ice water. I'm going to split them in half. And once they're all split in half, we're going to dry them off just a little bit more just to get rid of some of that extra water. We're going to get them in the pan, and then we're going to season them. And the seasoning is actually the same seasoning that we used for our steak in a previous video. A little bit of salt, pepper, granulated garlic, some onion powder, and some fresh cracked black pepper. We've got the Brussels sprouts blanched and shocked. Dried them off with some paper towels to get a little bit of that moisture out. We're going to put them in a pan with some vegetable oil and some butter, that herb spice mixture from earlier, and as we cook them, going to have a nice sear on the bottom. So these are going in flat side down. Going to let them roast. We got the olive oil going. We're going to add the butter here in just a second. Olive oil's got, or not olive oil, vegetable oil has a higher smoking point than butter. We're not trying to overcrowd the pan because we don't want them to steam. We actually want that sear. Once they're all in there, we're going to add the seasoning mix and just kind of let them sit until we get that nice hard sear on that flat side. And a little bit of that butter, we're going to go on kind of opposite sides so it melts evenly. Once we get that butter in it, it starts to melt. We're going to come back in with the seasoning. Just going to go over the top. So we're not messing with the flat side of the Brussels sprouts, but on that back side there's going to be a lot of flavor. So it's going to be kind of a caramelized Brussels sprout on one side, and the seasoning is going to be on the other side. So as you eat the whole thing, it's going to be one delicious bite. We put the Brussels sprouts in the pan. It was hot. We had oil, added a little bit of butter. They fried for a minute. They started to come up. I didn't want them to get burnt, but a nice like crispy sear on them. So we pulled them off. We're going to let them rest for about a minute and a half, and then we're going to slide them back onto the hot pan or the hot side, because as the oil kind of cools down, instead of them getting like burned, overcooked, and fried, it kind of like refries them. So yeah. Secrets of a restaurant chef. Brussels sprouts that we were roasting in the pan, wait for just a minute. We're going to slide them back over, let that heat come back up. Do you hear that? It sounds like a ticket to Flavor Town. Started searing the Brussels sprouts, pulled them off to let them rest for a couple minutes, put them back on. I think we're about done, and on a vacation to Flavor Town. So we're going to start with a little bit of the mashed potatoes. We're going to put a little pile of those on there and then just kind of pull it out. After the mashed potatoes, we're going to come in with that steak. And then on the back side, those seared Brussels sprouts.